It's game day. We've got a game 5.
Ooh.
Some doubters out there weren't sure if we were even going to see a 5, but we are, and we're glad you are all along for the ride. Why are you pointing at Sammy?
There's some doubters out there.
We got a terrific show for you in the next 2 hours, and we'll get you ready for tonight's contest. Off the Rails Friday can only mean one thing. Doug McLean will join us in about 50 minutes. We'll also get a scene setter from Joshua Cloak, a Leaf writer for The Athletic. We've had him on a couple of times. I actually enjoyed his article a few days ago because it kind of reminded me of Sammy, where he was the gist of his column was, even if they come back and win, it's not enjoyable. At least that's the way I took it. That it's not the real way it's supposed to go. You're supposed to cheer as you go along, not cheer, bail, cheer, bail.
Yeah. No, you're right. And it does feel like, to get those people back, though, Kip, a win tonight, you can't tell me everyone's not back in. Right, Sammy? They win tonight, Sunday night, you are in.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But
you go and do something like this.
You even
and
know,
totally
Sammy,
redeem yourself.
you did touch on this, though, that it wouldn't be unlike them to come back, hook you back in, and then chop you off at the knees at the end.
Yeah, the only question is
you,
Game 5 enough pain? Have they done enough?
And are you protecting yourself against that, Sammy?
I don't know what I'm doing, boys. I'm really game. I'm really game to game here now with how I'm feeling about this team. Like, I still don't feel. I wouldn't say I feel excellent about them after they won in Game 4, which was a super
narrowly.
Yeah, it was a good defensive effort, but it still wasn't an offensive breakout. Like, I put the stat in the lineup today that this is the first streak of 6 straight games of scoring 2 or fewer goals since 2011-2012 for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Which in itself is remarkable.
Insanity, given all the offensive talent they have.
Very, very bad timing for a streak like this. So, like, I'm totally game to game. I don't know about you guys, but I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to see from the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Craziest part about that, they've scored 2 straight goals in 6 games. The other stat Sammy has in there, 11 players have scored those 12 goals. So it's not like any one player's doing it. They're just kind of chipping away as a group.
A ton to get into, including Ken Hitchcock in the second hours. We've had Ken on before, and
really good.
I really enjoyed talking to Ken, and looking forward to it again in the second hour. We got a ton of clips here to get into that offense that you're talking about, including from Sheldon Keefe on Matthews, the home ice struggles. I know Keefe has a comment on the home ice struggles. I want to go to that one first, and then I'm going to give you guys something that the Leafs did to change things up with their approach going into Game 5. Let's go to Sheldon first.
You know, we've had a mixed bag here at home ice. We've had probably 2 of the best games we've played, of the playoffs here in this building. Game 2 in both series, I thought, were really good. Obviously, we didn't get on the right side of the game in Game 2 here against Florida, but I thought in terms of our execution, our pace offensively, the chances that we generated, that's the best we've looked offensively in both games. So we've played really well at different times here. I thought, Game 5 against Tampa, that one probably can go either way type of thing. But like I said, it's been a mixed bag, but certainly we're overdue to have a real solid 60-minute effort here on home ice.
So in the hopes of turning things around at home, I was told that the Leaf players, upon their return to Toronto, were told that they were to go home, get a few things, come back for a team meal, and then check into a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering now, the feeling now of the guys coming home, whether or not some wanted to go home, sleep in their own beds, or check into a hotel. I can certainly see where they're coming from in terms of we've got the most complete road game so far And let's bring that road mentality home and treat this like a road game.
Yeah. My dad's Islanders teams did it during their playoff runs. They stayed in a hotel right by the rink there. I know that's, they believe that it eliminated the distractions of home. And I can't help but look at a guy like John Tavares, who has 3 kids, including a newborn. And they're being like, hey, John, you're going to sleep in a king bed in your own room tonight instead of in the house with the 3 kids, and him not being like, okay, if you insist. I would love to hear those words, and my kids are 6 and 3. I think it makes sense. I'm sure some wives were like, I'm sorry, you're not coming home. Not as thrilled about it, but they're part of the team at this point.
I don't
all
think,
hands on deck.
Yeah. What are your thoughts off the top, Sammy? Same thing? Just treat it like a road game?
I think it's a bit of an overthink, maybe. I think it's maybe some, you saying that your dad's teams did it makes me feel a little bit less this way. But my first reaction to hearing you say that is which one of the 100 development people within the organization cooked up that idea?
I think if you went back through even recent history,
it
it's
happens
not
a lot.
Wildly uncommon, I don't think.
I
agree.
Yeah? Have you done it before, Kyper?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you how close we got to it, though.
Okay.
In 1994, we're up 3-1 against Vancouver, lost the next 2 games. And I told you the other day we had 2 days off between 6 and Game 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Keenan wanted to take us to Lake Placid.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Didn't want us to go back home for 2 days into New York City and
So you
get
played
all
in
worked out.
Vancouver. He wanted to go to Lake Placid.
Yes.
And then
Sit there for 2 days and then come home for Game 7.
that's a bad idea.
Wow.
That's an overthink.
You know who told them that was an overthink?
Mr.
Mark
Messier?
Messier.
Yes.
Correct.
No one else
Mark
is
said,
going to
hey,
tell.
listen,
Yeah.
Mike, good coach.
Yeah.
We're going to go home.
Yeah.
We're going to sleep in our own beds like we have all year long.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back to Madison Square Garden and we're going to win Game 7.
Yeah.
And everybody is just going to take a little bit of a chill pill and
Yeah.
treat it exactly the same. And I don't know. Again, it would be hard to please 23 guys, whatever's on their roster right now.
There'd be some differences.
There
of
would be
opinion
some
for
guys
sure.
going, come on,
Yeah.
overthinking here. Just let us go home.
Yeah.
And there'll be others, like you said. Maybe it is
Like
a
McCabe
young
has young
child.
kids.
Maybe it is a young child that will enable you not to get a good night's rest. Whatever the case is, it's anyone's guess how this plays out.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds terrible, but at home, sometimes your dog wakes up and starts yapping at 5 a.m. Sometimes your kid has bad dreams and comes in your room. Get a good sleep.
So, sometimes there's construction outside your hotel room, too.
Well, that's fair, too.
And sometimes there's somebody banging on a door at 2 a.m., too.
Housekeeping?
There's just no way.
So what are your thoughts, Kyper? Do you like this idea?
I'm a guy that to not overthink.
Just sleep in your own bed.
I'd like to go home.
Agreed. I would like to go home too, but I don't have kids.
But listen,
Distractions,
a
really.
good convincing start to the game, a Dallas 5-2 win like we saw the other night. No one's going to question this. It will be the right decision.
Yeah.
But it's got to follow through.
Did you happen to watch the first period of that Dallas-Seattle game at all? And I mean, I know it's a little bit later, but the pace and the way Dallas came out in that game, they ended up falling behind shots, but it was physical and, offensive chances, and it was a hockey game.
Can Toronto do that tonight? Are they due for one of those games?
You would think so.
And it won't just be the fact that it's now 3-2 in the series. It will be how it's 3-2 in the series. That will be more important than just being within one game of tying up the series.
In terms of getting the win, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, Florida, you're getting the questions. You're going back home. You're letting this slip away. All of a sudden, Florida's going.
Maybe a bad goal or two on Bobrovsky, and now the seed that you planted in Game 4 is growing.
Yeah. I don't have it directly in front of me. The chances of a team coming back from down 3-0 are 3% in NHL history. 3% of teams have come back. 3-1.
They are
10%.
2 and they've won 3% of the time. when they're down 3-0 in a series. Yeah.
3% of the time, yeah. And I think it's 10% when you're down 3-1 in the series, which Florida just did. You know, you win tonight, all of a sudden it's 22% when it's, when you're down 3-2.
This is in the cap era. Teams that have gone down 3-0 have won 2 times and lost 60.
Yeah.
And the 3-1 have won 12 times and lost 114 times.
It's unlikely. But
Habs were one of those 11.
Sure are.
Like we said off the top of the show, it would help getting more than 2 goals in one game.
They should do that.
We've got a clip on Sheldon Keefe on Austin Matthews. But before we go to it, I just want to revisit you guys in terms of where is Austin's game and how much more does he have to give? And what do you how does he have to look tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
The only criticism I really have is that it hasn't gone in the net for him. He leads the team in scoring chances, and I know no one cares, but I'm just saying, like, it hasn't been wildly different. Physical and
from an intensity or a feel like he is all in on a scale of 1 to 10. Where's your number on Austin Matthews?
I mean, how can it be less than 10? This is all or nothing, right?
Yeah. See, I'm
balls on the line and
6.5, 7. I think he's got so much more to give.
Yeah.
From shift to shift to look like a dominant player.
You're saying previous to tonight's game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just think that there's another gear I'm waiting from Austin Matthews to dominate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
where are you?
A big reason they're down 3-0 or we're down 3-0 in this series, now 3-1, were their 4 guys' inability to produce. And like you said, Bourne, he's had scoring chances, and Tavares had a ton of scoring chances throughout but those chances doesn't matter. You've got to finish. And if they're going to turn this around and come back, they need Matthews to be Austin Matthews. Like, tonight is a signature game on home ice with a chance to really propel yourself towards some pretty incredible history. It's the type of game where a super duper star that Austin Matthews is, puts what on the table and puts a couple in the net and takes over physically and gets to the front of the net and is in the middle of the ice. Tonight's one of those kind of games, and I'm expecting it from him tonight. Like, I really am.
Yeah, I thought that's what Kip was asking, what I wanted to see tonight. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's, these are judgment days for him for 88, 91, 16. I mean, their reputations are made in these moments.
I'd fight my mom to win another Stanley.
Let's see if any mom fighters are out there.
I think the perception has always been that even 16, even 88, even 91, but Austin is above them. We've had Austin in conversations where it's Connor, McDavid, and Austin.
Right.
And he's lost that this year.
For sure.
No question.
It's, it's funny. He's going to score 40 goals. He's got 5 goals in 10 playoff games. And it's tough to not step back from it and be like, this year was a little disappointing for Matthews, So, you want to change that. There's still time. But, boy, hourglass sand is just about run out here.
And I thought in the first round, he was in front of the net way more. In terms, like, you still see a couple times here where he's battling with Ekblad and, but it just felt like a lot of his scoring came right from the middle of the ice and right in the sweet spot. Like, you think of the tips that he had in game 4, game 3 against Tampa. Like, I think the front of the net versus Florida is much less desirable for a forward than it was against Tampa. You think of who you're going in there against. Like, you're going in against Ekblad. Radko Gudas is a butcher.
Yeah.
Stahl. Like, it's not as accessible, and I think you kind of have to push through that and fight to the front of the net for him. So I'm expecting a big one from him tonight. I really am.
All right, let's see what Sheldon Keefe is expecting out of Austin Matthews for our first Kippers Clipper of the day.
Obviously, each one of them you feel like
is
going to go for him. He's had a lot of opportunities. Some really clean, especially early in this series. Not as many on the road, but obviously that crossbar that he hits early in game 3, you feel like that's the one. Not only that it would have set the tone greatly for that game, but for him to start the game that way, and it didn't fall. So, I think the real key for any of our players, no matter what they're going through, is to just focus on their game, shift to shift, and the little habits and the things that we need them to be doing defensively and all of that. And the chances are going to continue to come. And we need to score, as a team, we need to score one more goal than the opposition. And that's really where the focus has to be.
So he's still going back to the chances aren't falling. They love to say falling. They all are like, oh, the chances aren't falling.
Yeah.
But even the players say it.
Do they?
They're not falling.
Yeah. Which is weird. It's such a basketball term, right?
Yeah. They're not going in. And he went back to it again when he was asked about him.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think how'd you refer to it, Sammy, as a kind of a signature game or moment for Austin?
And not just Austin. Marner as well.
Yeah.
Like, those two guys are the two best players in this team. It's a signature moment for both of them.
But only one of them by July 1st could be asked to be the highest paid player in the league on an extension.
Which it plays into this. And this is the type of game where the highest paid player in the league shows up. And he's a great player on home ice. Like, he's been dominant his whole career at Scotiabank Arena.
You have any issues with the Leafs losing tonight and maybe Austin playing a B game instead of an A game and him still asking to be the highest paid player July 1st?
I think it would be sour until then. And then he signs it and you're just happy he's staying, I think. Would be probably the Leaf fan feeling.
Yeah, I imagine you want him to be a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, whatever the revisions that happen to this team, you sure need him to be a part of it. So
Listen, people will be incredibly pissed off at him and Mitch if he's no good tonight. Like, there's just no question. That will be a huge talking point. That'll be one of the main talking points. But, time heals all wounds. We get to July. Weather's warm. It's Canada Day. He signs a contract.
Hard to find another one.
People will be happy.
What's that?
It's hard to find another Austin
player like that. Yeah.
Matthews.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a legit 40, 50, 60 on a career year season.
Yeah, you
They
just never
don't
get better,
exist.
right? You never get better by trading guys like that.
There's so many dominoes again, and not to rehash them because we have, but who's resigning him is the one that I look at. But hey, big win tonight, and you delay that one.
Honestly, Kipper, like, you're smiling like we shouldn't be talking about it. But
no.
We should be talking about it. This is a huge, swing moment.
I know, but I'm not sure, like, now's the time to start deep diving the what ifs.
No, but, like, the way you mentioned it and kind of, like, your tone, it's like, it's not an unfair thing to be talking about at this point. Like, if they lose tonight, it's really no different than them getting swept in terms of what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, listen.
It's funny, though, how we do this, how you rework it all and you go, okay, was game, what was the Tampa series at, it was a 2-1 at one point, or?
It was, the Leafs made it 2-1, and that it was, they scored late to make it 2-1, and then they had to come back to make it 3-1.
Right.
Yes.
At those points, you're saying, well, this is defining for Matthews. Yes. Can he be here? And it's like, he does, and he scores, and he does in the next game, and it's like, this is playoffs. I think you zoom out in the playoffs and say, how do you perform?
Yeah, for sure. And listen, we know where the dominoes will start falling if they do find a way to lose this series still. And Matthews signing wouldn't be the first 2 or 3 dominoes to fall, right?
Yeah, you think they would probably make some changes before he would commit to being
You can't even think about Austin Matthews and where he is July 1st without knowing where the pecking order stands.
Listen, Keith Jones just got hired president of the Flyers. I mean,
baby,
this is your time,
Kippy.
Kip. This is your time. Everything goes sideways with the Leafs. You bring in a broadcaster, a former wore the jersey,
copycat league,
a little bit of an abrasive style of play.
Copycat league, baby.
Blue and white,
Kippy.
If I'm going, you guys are coming with me. Which one of you will be assistant GM?
Not me.
Ooh, I'll take it.
Not me.
Sammy.
Yes. I'll be
Sammy's new Carlton.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No. We created a new mascot for him.
I think so.
A brand new.
All right,
Sammy.
I think that Carlton could use a little, look a little tougher.
A little 2023 reimagining.
Yeah, a little tougher. I'll be the mascot coordinator. We can figure something out.
Mascot coordinator.
You want
full-time salary?
You guys want to stick with Sheldon Keefe? You want to bounce a Paul Maurice?
Well, I'm going to call Josh here.
Is Paul a little calmer on these clips? Is there a little bit more structure on where he's going with these comments, Sammy? I've not heard them yet.
Him on the offense in the series is pretty interesting, if you want to play that.
All right, let's go there because we are talking about the lack of offense out of the Leafs.
If you can skate, you can defend. Both teams can skate, both teams defend. And the guys on either team that wouldn't be considered fast are really smart. So pick one of Tavares, O'Reilly, and Reinhart. Phenomenal defensive IQs, right? All can kill penalties if they need to. So smart guys, but the fast guys, you can check.
Really funny to like blatantly call out guys as not great skaters, which is fine, right? I got no problem with it. It's just funny.
No, I don't think he meant. No, it's not a knock against being great skaters. It's a knock of not being fast.
Yeah, which you're right, inarguable.
Right?
Yeah.
There's some really strong skaters like
Sure.
Peter Zezel. I mean, I kind of grew up with Peter and not fast, not pretty, but try to knock him off his skates when he's on the right side of the puck off of face-offs or in the zones. It's like he's as good as anybody when he's standing there on the right spot.
Right. As with these guys.
Yeah.
All right.
We mentioned Joshua Cloak from The Athletic, Leaf writer. Yeah, it's a bit of a scene setter. Josh, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Not bad. What's the mood over there today, guys?
Oh, Sammy's a toilet seat. Up and down and up and down and up and up today.
Yeah.
Up.
Hopeful, I would say.
How about the toilet seats down there at the rink?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like you kind of think going into Game 4, like, boy, a sweep would be really bad. And then the more you think about it, like, wouldn't losing on home ice kind of be even worse? Like, that's the up and down where I'm at right now. Where are you guys at with that kind of idea?
Yeah, I mean, I just think getting swept is such a bad look. It's obviously not awesome to lose tonight. It's not that different, but, I think it's a positive to not have been the first team eliminated in the second round. Are they going to go at tonight, you think, with the same lineup as they did in Game 4?
Yeah, the same lineup for sure. I mean, Matt Nyes, isn't ready. We don't know if he'll be ready, towards the end of the series. If they get that far, my understanding is he's progressing pretty well. Which is good. But yeah, same lineup, including Joseph Wall and goal. I guess the question I have is, like, if you're going to go with the same lineup, like you mentioned going at the game, are you going to go at the game with the same kind of, focus on getting things defensively sound and just playing kind of a smart, responsible, boring game as they did in Game 4? Or are you just going to try and, use the crowd to your advantage and really play that style of hockey that I think the Leafs at their best can kind of utilize? I think that's the question I have going into it, because like you're still waiting for Matthews to really break out. You're still really waiting for Marner to break out. If those guys do, you kind of want to just roll with that and give them more runway, right? So it'll be interesting to see, because again, Game 4, it was a pretty boring game, but the result is the only thing that matters, right?
Yeah. Josh, we talked at the beginning of the show about the Leafs spending the night at the hotel last night and trying to create a feeling of road warriors and bringing that Game 4 back into the Scotiabank Arena. And I think that's kind of maybe the answer of what kind of look. I don't think that they want to factor in the crowd. I think they want to seamlessly take Game 4 and start it with Game 5. Why else do you ask the guys to spend the night in a hotel room?
And I think those 2 days, like there were 2 days off between Games 3 and 4, and you would think that wouldn't really work for a team because that's more time to stew. But, I had a few conversations with players about the benefits of just being together and regrouping. And like, you talk about setting a scene, like literally it was tough to walk up and down East Fort Lauderdale Boulevard and not see players together, right? Whether it's just going out for a walk or whether it's hanging out on the beach, and as they should. Like, I think that kind of camaraderie, and I'm not saying the Leafs would do this, but it prevents any pointing of fingers. It keeps everybody kind of united on this goal of theirs, which is to kind of pull off the near impossible. So I think they probably looked at what happened between games 3 and 4 and said we came away from that with a pretty good, I guess, mentality, and we want to just continue that. And good on them for recognizing the kind of moment, right?
Yeah, Cloak, yesterday you had an article on Willie Nylander and kind of what he's meant to the team in this series, including the intro talking about him walking shirtless down the boulevard there, which is the most unsurprising Nylander thing ever. Tell us a little bit about his demeanor and what you've thought of his play in round 1.
Like I was out for I'm a bit of an early riser. I mean, 9:30 isn't that early, but on game days it can be. I was out for a walk, picking up some stuff for the day, and I kind of looked and I said, well, who is that, large man with this, blonde flowing mane with, tarps off. And I'm like, you get a few paces closer. I'm like, well, of course that's William Nylander, right? He just looked completely at home. And like, I meant to convey this. He wasn't walking by the beach. He was strutting. Like it looked like he was going to throw his back. It was arched so far back. Like this was a man that, as confident as could be. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, and like, we know William Nylander, we know the kind of carefree William Nylander, we know the one that gets heat for not back checking, but I think we also know the one that is probably, maybe the most confident player on the team. And that's the guy that I saw. And then you talk to teammates about him, and, if that kind of confidence rubs off on other teammates, like Callie Yarncroc said as much, like if your top guys are back checking, and if your top guys aren't fazed by the moment, that has a real positive effect. So it was just interesting to me to see a guy that, from the moment he woke up, it appeared was like, I'm not going to let this series get away from me. And I think the Leafs could certainly use more of that, right?
Yeah, the one that stood out for me, Josh, was you're down 3-0 and you stare right at the media and you're like, yeah, let's just have some fun tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
wild
you,
thing to say.
and 80% of the media are going, all right, you lose tonight.
Yeah.
And you're giving me, you're down 3-0 and all you can think about is going out and having fun. I am going to bury you. So I think he's been around long enough to know that if he's throwing that out, there was the potential of that coming back to him. And yet it speaks to that confidence that you're talking about, that he can go out there and have a good game, if not a great game.
Well, the Leafs, to me, I think they, at least in public, at least when the cameras are on, I think they need a little more of that. Like, after they go down 3-0, I started calling some players from that, 0-10 Flyers team and that 14 Kings team, and they said that the key for them to come back from 3-0 was just trying to plant little seeds of doubt in the opposition. And a lot of that started with the coach. A lot of that started with Daryl Sutter in 2014. And you can have your qualms with Sutter for sure, but like he wasn't going down easily, and he was going to do everything he could to put pressure on the opposition. And we haven't seen a lot of that from the Leafs, particularly from Sheldon Keefe. And like Bourne, Keefe as well as anybody. Like maybe that's not in his makeup, but it certainly is in William Nylander's makeup to kind of, again, have his chest out a little bit and just kind of show the Panthers that, like, regardless of where the series is at, we're not going to let you think that we can be walked over. And I think Sheldon Keefe could probably stand to do a little bit more of that. He's looked, I don't know if defeated is the right word, but he's looked something close to that at times, at least when the cameras are on. And that's all we can see. And I think that's probably a little bit concerning. And I think if the Leafs do win tonight, I think Keefe has every opportunity here to really dig that seed of doubt even further in the Panthers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I look at this Leafs team through 4 games of the second round, and I go, who's really played well for them? And, you go through the best players, you go through the D-core, a couple of good defensemen in there maybe, but no one really has been great. Do you think that's a positive sign for the Leafs, that that there's more to get from a lot of these guys, or do you think it's concerning that through 4, none of them have really popped?
I do think it's a little bit concerning because, I mean, how long do you have to wait? Like those were some of the first comments I got in that William Nylander story. Like, the whole headline was he's flipped the switch. And, people are asking, well, why did it take him until game 4 to flip the switch? And he's had a good, not great series, but I think that is a little bit of cause for concern. Like the whole regular season, the whole mantra they kept repeating, this Leafs team kept repeating was everything we do is to prepare good habits for the playoffs because they know they're going to be in the playoffs. They know they want to go deep. They know that's when they're going to be judged. Like, I guess why has it taken this long for the likes of Austin Matthews to really pop? And he's been good, but, good isn't the expectation. So, sure, like they, Marner, Matthews, Tavares in particular, they could all pop tonight. And, again, you can go back to Florida creating a little bit more of that doubt. But I do think it's concerning that we're 4 games in and you're asking the question, like, why haven't players that are paid to be great being, why haven't they played great?
We're talking to Joshua Cloak, Leaf writer with The Athletic. Are you okay with Sheldon's demeanor when it comes to maybe challenging these guys for more goals? Would you expected him to publicly challenge more? Has he said the right things? I mean, the series is still alive. You must be doing something right.
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me because, again, like I've had conversations with a lot of other people about this. Like maybe that's not in Sheldon's demeanor, right? And if you fake it, if you're tough in public and you criticize your guys and you call out your guys, like if that's not who you are, people can sniff out that inauthenticity right away. So if that's not who he is, then then don't do it. But I do think, I think it was after, what was it, game 2 or 3, and he's saying, Mitch Marner is trying out there. Like this isn't the league where you get points for trying. Like I think we could stand to see Sheldon Keefe kind of upping the ante a little bit. I think a lot of Leafs fans would respond to a little bit more emotion, a little bit more anger. But again, like Bourne, him well. Like is that in his character?
I find him emotional, and really tough for him to hide how he really feels in general. But if you give him a few minutes to get past that, he's pretty composed and thoughtful. So no, it's not. He's never been a guy to go in there, or very rarely go in there and flip tables. So I know what you mean about authenticity. It is important. They do have some guys that they're going to be relying on who haven't been through this before, and one of them is Joseph Woll. Big spot for him tonight. You've had some chances to talk to him, I'm sure, as the rest of the media have there. Unique guy that we don't really know well. What are your thoughts on how he's handled him so far in this series?
I mean, it's pretty remarkable that not long ago, I'm talking 2.5 years ago, we were questioning whether Joseph Woll would even have a future as an NHL goaltender. And now you could conceivably foresee a case where the Leafs keep running with him throughout the playoffs because we don't really know how serious Samsonov's injury is. I think what really sticks out to me about Joe Woll is just how he isn't fazed by anything. He just has this remarkably composed demeanor and a seriousness to him that you wouldn't expect from a 24-year-old, essentially, a rookie. I'll tell you a very quick story about Joseph Woll that I think illustrates a lot of who he is. He was in that one of the last regular season games in Tampa, and he gets the start. And Scotty Bowman, who lives, just outside Tampa, he's at most Lightning games, as I understand. Anyway, I'm sitting beside him in the press box, and he starts kind of asking. He's like, "Who is this goalie? I don't know a lot about him." I'm like, "Well, he's a very young goalie, Joseph Woll." And he just says out loud, he's like, "Oh, he's fast! Wow, he's so fast!" And he's like, he looks like an NHL goalie. And then 2 days later, I thought to myself, well, that's really nice. What a thing to say. And 2 days later, I kind of run into Joseph in the Leafs dressing room, like, "Hey, do you want your tires pumped? I heard something about you. Do you want your tires pumped?" And he looked me dead in the eyes. He's like, "No, I do not." And he started to walk away. And I kind of had to run him down after and be like, "No, I kind of want to tell you this story." But the point is he's not, we all know young players, sometimes they get ahead of themselves. Sometimes they need to have their egos boosted. I don't think that's where Joe Woll is at. I think, he is just his composure on and off the ice, I think, is what stands out the most to the Leafs in terms of, his development. So I think he's not going to be phased, coming back home and playing in another must-win game.
One more for me on Joseph Woll, and I'll tie it back into Sheldon Keefe. And the other day, Sheldon saying that they really have a ton of confidence in Joseph Woll. We know that. And then Sheldon also said, I don't want people to read into this and think that I'm putting down our other goalies, right? It's not a reflection on Murray or Samsonov, but we really like them. But come on, Joshua, isn't it really a reflection of your two goalies?
Oh, how is it not? Like, that's he can say that, but how is it not? And like, this is a little bit of how the sausage is made, but I was the one that asked Keith that question. Like, did you give are you giving any thought to starting Matt Murray? Which I thought was a completely fair question. And he just said no. And you could just feel a pin drop in the press conference room. Like, wow, because this is the guy that you acquired because of his 2 Stanley Cups, because you would think that in these kind of games, you want a guy that has been there. So it's hard for me now. Yes, he kind of clarified his comments afterwards. And, sometimes you don't always get it right in a press conference. I'll be the first one to say that as well. I've asked some, boneheaded questions. But it just, how is it not a little bit of an indictment of what they think about Murray's play like this year, right? I mean, yes, it is. It seems like it was an attempt to pump Joe Woll's tires, but I think it's concerning to me because you could get in a spot where, Joe Woll could get injured, and then you have to go with the guy that you've really kind of left out in the wind, right? So it's kind of concerning. Like, I don't know. I'm still wondering if Matt Murray is going to be back next year, if they're going to find room for him. I don't know, because it doesn't seem like he's in the plans. If he was, then, wouldn't he be starting tonight? Like, am I getting too far ahead of myself? But
no,
I don't know. I don't think it didn't really. Look, I'll just say this. It felt like an indictment of where they're at with Murray, and it felt like it was hard not to read into the fact that they see Joe Woll as their guy moving forward, not just in this series, not just through the rest of the playoffs, but even into next year too.
We'll start with the first 20 minutes tonight.
That's right. 20 at a time.
Josh, really appreciate your time. Excellent stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, anytime, boys. Enjoy the game.
Thanks
Joshua
so much.
Cloak,
You too.
Leaf writer for The Athletic. Yeah. We'll only watch and witness and make judgments after it's all said and done.
Yeah.
But right now it seems like Sheldon's got enough juice right now to not change the flow. I don't know what happens in the first 5 or 10 minutes and where his demeanor is or his body language on the bench. But certainly you can't argue that he has not said the right things up until this point after being down 3-0.
Woll or Keefe? Sorry.
Keefe.
Yeah. Woll's, I like that he's a bit of an oddball. Like, I don't know if he's an odd guy at all, but like, I think it's great that he's just different from other people and says, no, I don't want my tires pumped. And
really not uncommon for goalies.
Right.
They're just strange people.
They're just weird.
No,
They are. They've historically been weird, and it's a weird position, and they're on the team and they're not really on the team, and they're like a field goal kicker where you could actually do your job maybe in a
they're on the
suit.
team, but they're not really on the team. That's funny. But to me, the job is a little bit like someone being like a psychic or something. When you're like, I promise that person's a little different. Like, that is not a normal line of work to enter.
Think about what it is. Like, who have you guys ever gone in there?
I mean, like everyone else, I played it 4 times, and as a minor hockey kid, was like, "This is stupid."
Out of curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I went in
this a
within the
couple
last.
times.
I went in within the last year when our goalie pulled his groin and the game was going
How's
to
your
end.
5-hole at 6'6"?
It's I don't know how anyone.
It's like a bridge.
I don't know how anyone would volunteer to do that. It's horrible.
Oh,
you
it's
have to be a little different to do that.
Sit there,
Stand
for
around and wait to get embarrassed.
You talk to yourself. You have conversations.
And they're like, yeah, every 2 minutes, someone's going to come down trying to dunk on you.
I got lit up.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
lit up.
wow.
Made a couple saves on a good one on a deflection, but I think I let in 7. It's hard.
You must look
Tough
like
job.
Gumby with
No.
goalie pads.
I look a lot
Justin
like
Pogge
No, I was
over
going to say
here.
Mike Dunham. Remember Mike Dunham?
Yeah, he's good.
That's what I look like in there.
All right, Sammy, you got some playoff picks for us?
Yeah, let's do that. What do I got here? Here we go. It's time for playoff picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Talk about this all the time in this spot, but this is an excellent night for the happiness hedge.
To bet on Florida.
I didn't bet on them in game 4. I sprinkled a little bit on them during the third period when I realized I actually cared. Yeah, I did. When they were 3-1 in the third period, I put a little bit on them because I actually realized that I did care and I didn't want them to lose. So, anyways, it was fine. A little bit of happiness. But tonight they're plus 150, which is a pretty juicy number for a single game bet, and depends on how much you want to bet on that. You can win some money. It's a nice one. So Panthers plus 150 tonight, and I cooked this one up. It's a same game parlay. I like to call it the maximum pain parlay.
For the Leafs fans.
For a Leaf fan. Yeah. Maximum pain parlay. A Sam Bennett goal.
Ouch.
Paired with a Panthers overtime win pays 25-1 So it's a long shot, but if you really want to guard yourself,
I'll pay you $250.
So you want to guard yourself against maximum pain, there it is for you.
I am wondering from a Florida perspective on how aggressive they want to come out.
I was going to ask you about
I
that.
do believe that there is a different tone out of the Edmonton-Vegas series.
Yes.
That will actually bleed into Toronto and Florida.
What do you mean?
I mean, they're going to readjust the standards. I think that series, no question, had gotten out of hand to the point where
Violent.
now the league has to step in and suspend 2 players. And
more on that later.
And that they've also seen some stuff out of Florida and Toronto, including the late stuff again. Bennett and
Chari was in on the ground.
Kachuk, and there might be an early chance to send messages that we're gonna, and maybe that'll play into the Leafs' hands.
Listen, a high penalty game would be fine for the Leafers.
It was McCabe that
was on the ice.
That was on the ice that Bennett was teeing off on. You're allowed to punch somebody in the face with your gloves on after
Infinite
the whistle.
times.
Yeah, that's fine. But as soon as the gloves come off, then it's a game misconduct as opposed to not a game misconduct.
Well, you know what's funny is I had someone write me and be like, hey, he got a game misconduct, like on the score sheet, Bennett did at the time.
Yeah, he deserved one.
But in the final 5 minutes, that's supposed to be an auto suspension.
He's
Maybe
Mr.
they just rescind that.
His nickname should be Wirecross. He's a psycho. Wouldn't want to play hockey.
It was
against
on
him.
the game sheet and then it was off the game
The
sheet.
screenshot the person sent me, it was on the game sheet. Yeah. So we'll look into that more. So that was a passing comment. Didn't mean to talk about that. So I'll look into that more.
Yeah.
But
No idea anything about that.
Yeah.
So the favorite now to win the cup is Carolina. Obviously, they're the
That
first team through.
switches every night.
Yeah, I know. And
well,
we
they're
talk
through
about
to the conference
we talk
final.
about different
They
things
should
every
be.
day. So
They should be.
do you feel like they're getting a little
They'll
bit
sit idle for how long?
a
now?
while? Well, not maybe. Depends.
Yeah, they're waiting on the winner of Leafs Cats, so
They won't start this
conceivably
one, though.
could be over a week if there's 3 more games.
They
But
could
let's just
start
say
Saturday.
it ends
I'm sorry, not
Tonight.
tonight.
Sunday.
You're still
Would
not.
they start it
you're
before that other?
No, they won't.
No.
I don't think that they would.
So they're looking at a week
maybe
break.
on one night. Maybe on one night.
Can Svechnikov's ACL heal in a week? That'd be nice for them. What an impressive thing they did. They took out the Devils in 5 games.
They're just a unit.
Yeah.
Like I don't really identify
Rod
anyone
Brind'Amour,
on that
wow.
team,
All
but they
right.
just play hard. I got a couple quick other things for you. You can bet on the conference exact forecast. So whatever's going to happen. So Dallas Stars to win over the Oilers, which was the juiciest one that I could see in the Western Conference, was plus 380. And the last thing I have is another Leafs thing for you. You can bet when the series is going to end. And game 6 is plus 225. Obviously, tonight's plus 150, the same as the
So you're
the
betting on
Panthers.
the Leafs win, Panthers win.
Yeah.
Next 2.
It's game 7 is more favored than like the shorter odds for game 7 than it is for game 6 if the Leafs get past tonight. So that tells you what the books think of what's going to happen. So there you go. That was playoff picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds.
In the second hour, Ken Hitchcock, the fourth winningest coach in NHL history, will join us. But before that, after the break, Doug MacLean, former NHL president, GM, head coach, and the leader of Off the Rails Friday. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, you are listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News 680 traffic.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, let's go straight to the goods here. Doug McClain, no longer from sunny Florida.
Oh.
But where real people go. PEI.
I was coming in studio for a minute.
You ready to come back in studio, Doug McClain?
You kidding or what? Seriously.
You're retired.
The last day I walked out of that place, oh my God! The only thing I miss about going to the studio is I don't get to go to the Ritz-Carlton for a beer after or a glass of wine. The only thing I miss. Berkey and I sitting at the bar at the Ritz telling each other how smart we are.
You both have plenty of time to do that now.
Sheesh. Yeesh.
I can say that. They're my friends.
That's fair.
Hey, Matt, did the Premier let you back into PEI? Last time I think you might have had some trouble.
Yeah, the COVID kept us out for a couple, for 1 year and maybe almost a second year. We got in, but we had to delay and work through it. But finally we got in. As I said to the Premier here, Denny King, when he wouldn't let us in, I phoned and left a message at his office. I said, because the Conservatives had asked me to run for the leadership of the Conservative Party here a couple of years before he became Premier. I said to his secretary, tell Denny that if it wasn't for me turning the job down, he wouldn't even be the Premier.
Nice.
Anyway.
Nice.
He said, "Aren't you glad you didn't get it?" So anyway, Denny's a good guy. But anyway.
Okay, so listen.
We're happy to be here.
Where are you? A lot's happened in the last week, including the Leafs digging a really big hole here. 0-3. They got their win in Game 4. Where are you? Are you a believer here?
It's really it's tough to be a believer when you're down 3-0. I know that, but I watched the game the other day, and I was really impressed with how they played. I mean, it was like Bourne had done videos on how a playoff game has to be played with his articles. With his own play.
You think they're ripping him off?
It was like it was textbook how they played. I thought they played great, and you know what typified the game? The last 20 seconds when you watched Ryan O'Reilly battle to get the puck out into the neutral zone and how hard he battled and played. I thought they played a hell of a game. Littlegrant, I was really impressed with his game for a guy that's been out of the lineup a lot, in and out. I thought he had a strong game. Even Giordano battled like crazy, so impressive. Marner was the star. The one guy that hasn't played well enough yet for me is Austin Matthews. And tonight, can this be Austin Matthews' biggest game of the playoffs? Because, no, maybe not the playoffs, but this series. They need him to be the horse he's been all year. Look, if they win tonight, you go back to Game 6, and Florida is feeling the heat because they know they're coming back to Toronto for Game 7. So this is a big game, and they're capable of winning the game. I think they are.
Doug, what do you make of this Florida team? The first couple of games looked a lot different than they did down in Florida, like really fast transition hockey, a lot of chances both ways. Things tightened up in games 3 and 4, but do you believe this is a much better team than their regular season record would indicate?
They've been a good team for a couple of years, and they had the devastating end last year, which rocked the franchise, shocked the franchise that they were where they were, and then rocked them at the end of the year when they fell apart as easy as they did. The Tkachuk acquisition has changed the makeup of the team. Maybe the old man calling them soft, Keith, I don't know. Look, they played hard. They played loose. They had nothing to lose. After you come off a series when you beat Boston 4-3, come back from 3-1, you're on a high. And is it coaching? No, it's you got energy. You got your guys going through a wall. You got confidence. And you know what? I think their confidence will be a little rocked after that game last night. They didn't play great last game. They did not play great. Toronto played real well. Florida didn't play nearly as well. So yeah, they've been on a high mentally more than they've been on a high, playing fast and all the things we always talk about. And Bobrovsky stood on his head. They got to get to this guy big time. And you know what? We haven't seen Bobrovsky fall off yet. It happens a lot that he carries a team and then he lets them down. Is he going to do it this time? That is going to be the big question tonight. Does he keep his play? But they still got to get to him. Look at Nylander's goal the other night. Those are the type of goals you got to play in the score in the playoffs, guys. You got to be dirty, down and dirty at the paint.
Mac, I'm not going to date you, but you've watched a lot of hockey over the years in different eras. Is it easier today in this era with the rule changes the last 15 years, the salary cap, the imbalance of lineups, to come back 3-0 in this era than it has been in other eras?
I don't think it matters. I mean, look, it's almost an impossibility at the NHL level to come back in a series like this. I know it's happened 3 times or whatever. It's really hard. I don't care what era it is. You're coming back from a 3-0 deficit. Teams are too good. They're too well coached to just fall apart. So it'll be a monumental task. But the Leafs are capable of winning 3 games, 4 games in a row. They really are. They've done it all year. They're capable of doing that, and that's the mentality I'd go in with. Plus, they got game breakers. They were not very good against Tampa, guys, and you know that in 3 or 4 games. 5 minutes in one game, they took control of the game and won. 8 minutes left in one game, they're down 4-1. They come back and won. I mean, they've got game breakers that can turn a game around. They just need them going tonight.
But what do you make of the fact that it's so, I don't know, we don't see that out of them, those pushes you're talking about? Like, I remember they did it against Columbus in the bubble, too. They came back from down 3-0 with about 5 minutes left or something. Like, they're able to turn that on. Why can't we get that when the puck drops to start the hockey game?
You know what? You get it from the pluggers. You get it from the grinders. You don't get it from your superstars all the time because they play a skilled style game and, they want to do it with finesse. And that's what makes Kachuk such a interesting player this time of year because, yes, he's skilled, we all know that, but he plays hard and he battles. And, like, I watched Barkov the other night, a deciding end-of-the-year game. And he looked like I did in the men's league, slow, plodding.
Yeah, you said
what
that
is
too,
going?
man. Yeah.
It drove me crazy. I mean, this is your horse, and if he keeps his pace at what he played last game, he's an important player for the Leafs. He was not good, to say the least. Anyway.
Just want to go back to you with your comments on Austin and maybe that the one thing that you think that still might be missing, Mac, when you watch him. Is it the first 3 steps in his stride? Is it the shot that seems off? Is there an edge you're still looking for? What's the one thing that Austin still needs to hit to make people believe again he's the second best player in the world?
I don't think it's his shot, and I just think that is his confidence rattled a little bit? I don't think it should be. I don't think there's anything there other than he's being ferociously checked, and it's tough at playoff time. I remember, when I was coaching and we were playing against Lemieux and Yager, and I've told you this before, our goal every game was to make them hate hockey. The Florida Panthers style is to make Austin really hate hockey. And you know what? They're putting big-time pressure on him. He's got to fight through it, and he's skilled enough that he can. And the shot, he's got the talent this kid has. So he's got to find another gear tonight. He really does. I thought Mitch Marner found it the other night. I was so proud of that kid, the way that kid played the other night and how hard he played. And he was going to be undenied. This kid, he was not going to be denied for sure. The way he played, that's what they got to get at. Even Nylander was better. Yeah. I think that Matthews has got to go hard for them tonight. This is big for Austin Matthews. It really is.
What's your comfort level with old Joseph Woll taking a turn in net?
New, not old.
Not old. Yeah, old new Joseph Woll.
Oh my God. Well, it reminds me when Sawchuk replaced Bauer. You guys forget about that.
Yeah, I did forget. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I mean, I'm watching this kid. I'm sitting there waiting to start, and he's going, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? The Toronto Maple Leafs, with all the hype and talk and Murray and Samsonov, and they're going with their number 3 kid who has not played one playoff game. I mean, I know it's one thing to play Jack Campbell, who's played a handful, but they're going with a kid who's been a Marley, and he's been – and you know what? He was a difference maker in that game, boys. He calmed the rookie in goal calmed the team down. He gave them confidence. It was unbelievable to watch how he when he made a stop, how calm he was with the puck, how he moved the puck. I thought he was a calming influence, not a basket case, which most young goaltenders would be. He was phenomenal, guys. Not showstopper saves, just really solid and really confident. They weren't going to beat him, so it'll be fun to watch him tonight.
Hey, Mac, the decision by, I guess, Kyle Dubas was to put the guys at home in the hotel last night. Something that you guys experienced over your years of coaching, decisions to keep teams away from the distractions at home. How many times did you do it? Are the Leafs overthinking this thing, or right decision?
I think it's the right decision. We did it, for a couple of years in Florida. I mean, every playoff we basically moved into the Harbor Beach Marriott, and I thought it was really good. We'd have we'd be back and forth to home, but I mean, we'd go there the night before. We'd have a meeting at 8:00 at night at the hotel, and have a good chat, talk about the game, hockey style meeting, and it was. I always thought it was good. I really did, and that 7 or 8 week run that we had. I mean, we were away a ton, and the team I thought really grew from it. We'd have great video sessions at the hotel. We'd have lots of chats about the teams we were playing. I thought it was really healthy. I really did.
Doug, Luke Schen's been really, really good for this Leafs team, like surprisingly so. Are you surprised at how effective he's been for them?
When they acquired Luke Schenn, I thought to myself, he can't turn anymore. He can't do a Mohawk turn. I'm thinking, how the hell is he going? And you know what? What's he done? 2 5-on-5 goals against? I mean, or something crazy.
Yeah.
He's looked really. You know what? You know why? Because this time this year, it's all about the size of your heart. And this guy, there's never been anybody deny how much of a battler Luke Schenn has been, especially in the latter stages of career. He's been a team leader on teams he's been. To me, he's been better than McCabe. He's been better than Gustafson or any of the other pickups. This is a guy that's made a really solid pairing, and he's been really, really good. And you know what? I think it's all about the size of your heart right now, boy. I mean, it really means a lot. And that's what the Panthers have been relying on, boys. They've been playing really hard.
We're talking to Doug MacLean, former NHL president, GM, and head coach. Just a few topics around the league. Mac, Keith Jones goes in as a president of hockey operations in Philadelphia. First of all, your thoughts on Jonesy, and what should he be focused on early? What you've been a president. What's the first piece of advice you would give a guy like that?
Well, first of all, I think it was a really good choice. He's got a history with the Flyers, but on the outside, not within the confines of the office suites. He's been a broadcaster for them. He's played for them a little bit late in his career. I just think he's a real calming influence for an organization that's been all over the map the last few years. I think the fan base will be fair with he and Briere to start because they're popular guys. I like his background. I like how he played as a player. I remember him at the Washington Capitals when I was assistant coach there. I mean, Jonesy's always been a really good person. So I think that's where it starts, a good person and a guy that the players and your staff can trust what he says, he means. And I think it all starts with that. And I think he's got a chance to do an excellent job. And they got to, maybe Tortorella will now move from the press box and get him back down on the bench. That will be a start. He likes to observe up there. I mean, they need somebody that can handle him. And in my mind, Jonesy can handle Tortorella for fun. And that's what he's going to have to do that a few times.
So you think the Flyers will make some aggressive moves now to show fans they're different? I know this is the whole thing, right? Kind of remaking the image of the team, not just the team on the ice.
Well, there's been so much second guessing and almost hatred in the area with respect to the Flyers. They've been laughed at by their fan base, one of the best fan bases in the National Hockey League, and they owe their fans something here. I don't know that they're going to go crazy. I don't really know their cap situation, but I think they'll methodically go about. Look, that's the greatest thing. When you're new to a job, you've got time. You've got Briere's got time, Jonesy's got time, and they shouldn't race into let's do Kessel and let's bring Phaneuf in and let's build this championship team in week one. I think they'll take their time.
All right. Anything else on your mind? Like, just picture you and Berkey now at the bar at the Ritz right now. What would be on your mind? What would you guys be talking about right now?
Well, I was talking to Jeff Rimmer the other day, and Chris Cuthbert jumps on the line. The famous broadcaster Cuthbert.
Yeah, we know.
He jumps on the line. Said, "Hey, McLean, you wrote a book. You're the first guy to write a book who hasn't read one." And I'm thinking,
that's a line.
That's a good line.
I thought it was a great line, except Al. I don't know if Chris Cuthbert is aware that I have my master's in educational psychology from the University of Western Ontario, and he's got grade 12 from Guelph High School. So really, I'm not sure he should be. Anyway, he got on. He was chirping me pretty good, and at the end we had a pretty good laugh. But I told Jill that, and she said, "Who is this jerk?" I said, "No, Jill, he's a good guy. Leave him alone. He's a good guy." Anyway, he and Rimmer had a great laugh over it.
Oh, we're having a good laugh over it.
It's a good line.
Hey,
seriously, what is going on? Just a minute. I bought a soccer team in some place in Wales for the price that you pay for a junior B team in Canada, and then he's going to pay $1 billion for the Ottawa Senators.
Oh no!
Which
Who are
I
you
said in
talking
this
about?
show a week. I said Deadpool. I said, are you kidding? He's going to pay $1 billion for that team, for that franchise. We talked about it in this show a couple of weeks ago.
No, you did.
And then I read last night. Yeah, I did. And now I read he's out of the deal. What's that all about? Like, seriously. You go from buying your junior B soccer team, and then you're going to offer $1 billion, and now you're out. What is that all about? I don't get it. Did maybe he realize that he was overpaying at $1 billion by a few $100 million? Yeah, maybe.
Seems like the likely case.
Disappointing. Disappointing,
Are you disappointed? Anyway. Can you still watch his movies? That's what I want to know.
I've never watched one yet, but I really like the guy. I watched his soccer show when they were over in Wexstrom. I watched that show. Jill and I watched it on Netflix or something this year, and it was great. But listen, this is big boy hockey, and this is a big boy money. And for this to fall apart is mind-boggling to me. But anyway, we'll see.
I think Jill would lead.
Boo Boo Garriock is now going to is probably going to tie his wagon to Snoop Dogg, I would think.
I don't know. I know one thing for sure. If Ryan knocked on your door in PEI, Jill would leave you in a heartbeat.
Doug would be right there selling real estate.
There's no denying that. And he is he really pisses me off because he's such a nice guy and good looking. He really pisses me off.
Yeah, we're all pissed off at him for that.
You just can't be that good looking and that nice a guy. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm disappointed for Ottawa, but that's okay.
Thanks for taking it right off the cliff at the end of the show. We really appreciate it. You didn't disappoint us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Doug McLean from PEI. All right. You got anything on Ryan Reynolds or Chris Cuthbert?
I think the price got too high. And Chris Cuthbert, that's a hilarious line.
Can I say that just a quick appreciation at how damn good Cuthbert and Simpson are at their job?
Yeah, co-sign for me.
It's an absolute treat. Every night we watch the game. I love Cuthbert. And he's been the call, some massive moments, Crosby's goal, but to have him here in Sportsnet, not to do a PSA, love the man.
With you, buddy.
Ryan Reynolds' group was looking for a 30-day exclusive window to purchase some real estate and was not given that. So they said, "We out."
Oh, details. Thank you, Brandeo.
Yeah, no comment.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
This guy's bidding on the team himself here.
Are you the face of the Snoop Dogg
Ken
group?
Hitchcock,
Are you in the Nico group?
our next guest. Ken Hitchcock, the fourth
No
winningest coach in NHL history.
No comment, kid.
I'm just an observer from afar.
Oh,
I don't know what
That's
you
all
are,
I
man.
am.
I don't know anything about you.
I heard some things.
Yes.
Johnny, tight lips. All right, let's go to break.
You got any more picks or anything? we
No,
can throw
let's hit
to
the
right
break,
away, or is
pal.
that over?
That's all. We're done.
That's all.
Hit the
Okay,
break.
we're going to take a quick break. The fourth winningest coach in NHL history will join us, and we'll get his thoughts on Paul Maurice. He's
Yeah.
coached against him a few times. We'll get his thoughts on what Sheldon needs to do tonight and possibly 2 more games.
Yeah.
Ken Hitchcock after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Sammy, we all set for Ken? Let's welcome in the fourth winningest coach in NHL history, almost 900 wins. Now doing some work consulting with the St. Louis Blues, but we know he is watching and watching very closely for no other reason, the sheer love of the game. Ken, how are you?
I'm well, Kyper. How are things there in Toronto?
A little better, but I'm not sure how much better, but maybe that's what you can tell us on. And, you know, you've been around the game a long time, and I'm sure you found yourselves in tough predicaments in the playoffs. But what is the difference? Can you sum up the difference between being down 3-0 and then being down 3-1, or are they quite similar?
They're not similar. You know, like 3-1, when you go from 3-0 to 3-1, you feel like you've got a little bit of momentum. When you're sitting at 3-0, you're as nervous as the team is that's trying to close you out. Like, everybody says the pressure's off us and all that stuff. That's a bunch of BS. When you're down 3, like, the feeling of getting swept is it's a pit in your stomach, and you want to try to avoid that. But I think the way Toronto played the game would give them a lot of confidence. Like, it was a close game, but Toronto checked like crazy. They took away the middle of the rink. There were no second or third opportunities. I thought they played a hell of a hockey game, Kip.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on how much a team would make systems changes as a series progresses. Like, I just look at the Leafs game 1, there's a lot of pinching from Florida's D down the wall. After the next game, they're going off the glass and stretching it. Like, how much can you ask your team to play differently from game to game and still have success?
I think quite a bit. Not so much in the X's and O's, more in the tactics. So what I mean by that is that simple is smart when it gets to the playoffs. And whoever plays the simple, smart game and advances the puck usually ends up winning the hockey game. I thought Toronto, at the start of this series, they played way too much sideways, and they got burnt because of it. You know, there were too many lateral plays, and in the last game, they just advanced the puck, changed the territory, and then skated into it. And I thought they played a smart, conservative game that you can win all day with, and you can win 1-goal games, and you could win 2-1 playing like that. I thought if they bring that tactic with them again, I think they got a good chance to win the game.
Toronto Maple Leafs come in with a little bit of momentum off that win. There's no question about that, Hitch, but lots of talk about the Leafs and their lack of scoring. And then, of course, the finger gets pointed to Matthews and Marner and Tavares and Nylander. From your experience, Hitch, when you know that your stars have so much more to give, how do you handle the approach to them? Is it really, do you have to really be methodical on what you do or what you say publicly or behind closed doors, or is it just something that happens naturally?
No, I don't think it happens naturally, Nick. I think I've always said there's a big difference between looking for space and fighting for space. And the playoffs are about fighting for space. And whether it's Marner, Matthews, Nylander, it doesn't matter. Whether it's Tkachuk, any of those guys, Barkov, whoever fights for space usually ends up scoring goals. And to me, if you're talking about scoring, you're talking about scoring chances, you have to win the fight for space. You look at what Dallas did last night. You know, they kept Seattle to the outside the whole night, and there's got to be a change in attitude where you're willing to dig in, you're going to go in those hard areas, and you're going to fight to keep your space there. And if you don't, you're going to be looking for one and dones, or you're going to be looking from the perimeter all the time. And that's the difference. Everybody has to buy into that, even your most skilled guys.
So, Hitch, I need you to be honest here. Is that the exact same conversation that you would have with a guy like, I don't know, Brett Hull? Or are we talking a whole new kettle of fish here?
No, not so much Hully, because he could hide on the ice, and he knew angles that that you see 20 years later now. But I had those conversations with Modano, and I've had those, and I've had them with other guys too. That you got to go get dirty, and the score will happen, and goals will come. But first, you got to be involved in the dirty part of things. And Mo bought in. I mean, he became, for a period of about 6 years there, probably the best two-way player in the world, and yet he had a reputation of being a scorer. But he went into the hard areas when it really mattered.
How typical is it to get someone to do that, to make a change to their game? Obviously, you're thinking about the Leafs and their stars, not a ton of aggressive guys, but Modano wasn't that either. How common is it to get a guy who typically thinks one way to say, hey, you got to come back, you got to battle for pucks? Is that something that's even doable long term?
Well, you've got to convince them that it's a fight for us and not them. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is when you do the hard stuff and you go into the hard areas, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for someone else on your line, someone else on the bench, someone else who's injured. You got to convince the players that what the hard things that you want to get them to do are for us. It stops being about them. And it's the more uncomfortable you can get them in there, it becomes even bigger for us. And that's the convincing that has to take place.
We're talking to one of the most winningest coaches in NHL history, in Ken Hitchcock. Hitch, you can look into matchups all day long, and then there's the matchup between a head coach and the other guy across the bench. And two coaches that, sure, Hall of Famers, I think, when it's all said and done, and John Cooper and now Paul Maurice have been a huge challenge for Sheldon Keefe here. What do you see out of Paul Maurice in his coaching career, and a guy that you've gone up against?
Well, I don't know how much coaching he's doing. He's doing a lot of observing, and he's doing a little bit of cheerleading. But he did all his coaching to get into the playoffs, and he had to coach his butt off. And I think he regained the passion to drive people, and now he's just letting them play. Like he looks calm, he looks relaxed, and even when it's really wound up, he recovers quickly because he's been through this to get into the playoffs. He had to really drive the bus hard in January and February, and he did it. And I think he's got more confidence now than he's ever had, and he's really, really enjoying it. He's having a good time. You can see it in the interviews. You can see it in his disposition and his confidence. He's done a hell of a job, quite frankly.
Hitch, you've never stopped watching the game here. And one of the stranger things that I'm sure you've noticed is that offense is actually up in the playoffs. And last year it was the same thing. Offense went up in the playoffs, and that's not been typical of playoff hockey. What's changed, if anything, about the way some of these playoff games are being played?
Justin, you know what it is who wins the pinch game? Mm-hmm. Everybody's got activating defensemen. And if you lose the pinch game, you give up a lot of goals. And what I mean by that is the timing and the backside support and the covering over. Everybody's got activating defensemen like crazy. And if you win that game, you keep it in the zone and you create offensive chance after offensive chance. And if you lose it, you're chasing back 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 3-on-2. So to me, who wins that pinch game is going to be successful. And that takes a lot of work by defensemen because there's a lot more skating involved now than there's ever been.
Leafs definitely won the pinch game in Game 4, and that'll be a huge one tonight as well. But they were able to do it, Hitch, with 7D, keeping Giordano in. They got an extra day of rest out of him. He looked so much better. But overall, I mean, I wrote about it today in an article for the Toronto Star, but I'm starting to believe in 11-7 a lot more than I did in the past.
Yeah, I think if you've got dominant forwards, a couple of dominant forwards, 11-7 works really well. But if you've got just guys that can only handle their own shifts, then you're just throwing darts at a dartboard. I think Toronto's been able to get their top players on the ice way more, and that's helped. But I think also what's helped is that their skating legs on the back end, which weren't there at the start of the series, look like they're back in play now.
Yeah, it's a hopeful time here in Toronto. Just to take you outside of this series a little bit and get your thoughts on what's going on around the league. Carolina beating the Devils. Not sure how much of that you're able to see, but what did you make of that? Carolina's so injured, and the Devils obviously a very talented team.
Well, when Carolina plays man on man, and they got a lot of long bodies to play that game, they're extremely hard to play against. There's just no space to make a play. There's no space to get open. It'd be really interesting to see what other teams do to try to combat their style and their system. This is looking like, this is full knockout punch hockey in Vegas and Edmonton for me. This is everybody's taking swings early, and if you connect, you dominate. And if you don't connect, you're chasing the game. And these are haymakers being thrown by a lot of guys right now.
Speaking of Edmonton and Vegas, do you expect the officials to almost have a reset here in terms of style of officiating to start the next game based on the suspensions that we just saw from either side?
Not so much that, Nick. I think as series goes on and as the playoffs get deeper, the referees that excel are the ones that have a great feel. They know how to take it right to the edge and not let it go over the top. And I think that series is so wound up emotionally that, there's not much it's like a banjo string. There's not much that's going to make that thing snap. And I expect it to be a very emotional next two games. Whoever wins it, whatever, but there's going to be some really emotional hockey getting played now.
Funny because typically that happens early in a series, and then everyone's like, okay, we can't waste our energy on this sort of stuff, but it doesn't seem to be going away in this series. A lot of animosity. Do you think that plays in the favor of a team like Vegas, who maybe doesn't have the elite superstars and can kind of, can get Edmonton to muck it up with them a little bit?
No. Edmonton's got some nastiness to them that I don't think anybody realized. Yeah. I think the Oilers hit to hurt, and they play hard, and they're big and strong, and it's going to take a lot to push them out of this series. I really believe that because they're finally getting significant production every period from their role players, which they didn't before, but they are now, and that makes it for a really deep team to try to compete against.
What's funny for me, or at least so noticeable, is that nastiness and the edge that you just talked about. In many ways, are led by McDavid and Draisaitl, the guys that got 1,000 goals this year.
They're whacking and hacking with the best of them, and that's what's really interesting. When you see that in a team, when your top players are doing all the hard stuff, also that's like gold. Like that can carry you in a lot of series. And Edmonton's got that. Vegas had it, then they lose it, then they got it. I don't know which way they're going. Dallas has it. And quite frankly, so did Florida. And that was what was so impressive. Toronto's pushback. They pushed some of those guys that were showing up for Florida. They pushed them onto the back burner, which was good.
One more. I mean, do you see Dallas winning another cup like yours this year? I mean, do they have what it takes?
Yes, I think they do. Between the goalie and defense and experience, they got a combination. Hintz, Heiskanen, they got star players, but there's a lot of good teams playing really good hockey left in the West. So it's going to take a lot, but they got it in them. I think so.
Wow, it's going to be a great next couple of weeks, that's for sure. Hey, Hitch, always a pleasure to have you on our show.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Hitch.
Ken Hitchcock. Yeah, he's always so locked into the game.
Smart, insightful guy. He watches a ton of hockey.
Yeah.
I should just
That guy does not miss a game.
No.
The way he's talking in depth about every series is like he's watching. All he does is watch hockey.
Well, now he can get together with Berkey and Mac at the Ritz.
He's talking about the old studio that was near the Ritz, by the way. You want to go out for a drink
Yes.
around here, it's a little harder.
Yeah, the old,
Starbucks.
yeah, the old Belcher down
You know, and just another guy who's quietly third in scoring on Dallas, Max Domi.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's played so well. And there's a guy that kind of got lost a little bit, and he goes to Chicago and has a great season, puts himself in his position to attract a contending team, and look at him, one game away from a conference final.
Sure, he'll be he's up for a contract, right? UFA this summer?
Yep.
Interesting one there.
He has 38 PIMs. Something got greasy with him in one of these games.
Quick stat I wanted to share before I forget about it, and then I'll let everyone move on, is in the Devils Carolina series, Luke Hughes
Yes.
for the Devils has been unbelievable. He played 25 minutes for them last night,
Yeah.
top pair minutes, 75% goals for percentage, like everything.
Yeah.
You know, he top player on the Devils basically.
Listen, I mean,
5 career games.
You know how I feel about even the situation here with Nyes.
Yeah.
That like they're great players, and they will be great players, and Luke's going to be a star. But
Absolute star.
But the ask is too big this time of year.
But Kipper, they have a stacked decor before that. Like they have a bunch of good guys in that back end. They just identified him as the best. I don't get why there's like you said, he played 25 minutes a night. He's got to share.
It can be a little overwhelming. And
They were doing okay.
In a perfect world, you want guys to come in and slowly, mentally, physically, emotionally develop.
Yeah.
You just don't drop them in. You just don't push them out of a plane and parachute. Like you got
No parachute.
How about a few lessons first? You know, how about let me get a feel for it? I'm not saying that they can't be successful or they can't show that they belong. All of it has come true for both Luke Hughes and Matthew Nyes. It's just a little unfair to say, hey, now be 25 and 30 minutes and lead us to a conference final, by the way. It's just not good enough that you can come in here and play 25 minutes. We need you to play 25 minutes that gets us through the series.
You got to be better than the other guys.
Be better than the other team.
I mean, he was good for them in this small sample. Maybe it would have caught up to him, but
he will be great. He will be great. But like, where was your development of the other guys for 82 games to prepare you to beat Carolina to get to a conference final? Is that all wasted? Are they just seat fillers while we wait for our college
guys
kids
to play, don't you?
to drop in?
Yeah, I mean, just want the best guys to go. I think. I don't know.
But there's an emotional state with these guys, and there's a mental one, and there's a development mentally, and you're skipping steps for me.
Yeah, I mean, tough to argue with the idea of giving guys time and seasoning to develop and all that. It's also, just I understand why teams are like, I don't know. It's like Nyes, we're like, put him with Matthews and Marner. He looks like their best guy.
How many different decisions would he have made in the last few games if he had more experience?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
But I mean, how do you get him?
It's supposed to. It comes supposed to be in smaller sample sizes. That's all. That's
fair.
all. Anyways, what else? Anything about Carolina in terms of?
We should take questions, by the way. If you have questions, fire them into
we're
us.
gonna do
Text
text and
590
tweets on a
590.
Friday?
Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else that impresses you on Carolina? Like,
yes,
Sammy. Don't look now, but Freddie Anderson is going somewhere he's never really gone before.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Leafs Freddie Anderson could be next round, which, by the way, the Leafs should relish the opportunity there.
I really thought that in 1 week, Freddie Anderson was going to go to the conference final. The Habs were going to win the draft lottery, and the Leafs were going to get swept in a playoff series. I really thought that was in the cards. And only two of those things happened. I'm sorry, one of those things happened. So that's good.
Here is Megan Chayka tweeted about the Carolina Hurricanes forecheck. This is in the 2023 playoffs, so obviously this year's playoffs. They are first in these categories. Puck steals in the O-zone, pass interceptions, deflections for turnovers, possessions, reversals, puck recoveries, puck battles won, puck battles in the O-zone, board battle success percentage, puck recovers leading to shots. First in the NHL in the playoffs.
That is playing hard.
That is the best blue line moving forward.
They get the damn puck.
They have it.
You go into it, their team comes out with it.
And how about that pickup of Brent Burns, too?
That's looked pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good.
He had a casual 60 points or something from the back end on a first place team.
Kind of lost in San Jose, and now in a perfect position now to be one of four guys. In San Jose, he was the guy until really actually Carlson showed up.
Yeah.
And then that chemistry just didn't work.
No, you're right. It was not a good fit.
And the other thing, too, on Brent Burns is last year, I just thought he ate too many chocolate bars. Every time I looked on my TV, he was eating a chocolate bar.
Jamming a Kit Kat between his front teeth.
You can't have, it's like eating bacon. You just can't do it every day.
Man, I'd love to try, though.
He's off the chocolate bars, and he's having a better season.
Do you notice I'm off the daily chocolate bar? Now I just eat mini eggs every day.
But that's affecting me as well. No, you just didn't make a decision for yourself.
That's true. I hurt the team.
You made it for me as well.
Sorry, man.
That Jordan Martinook had a hell of a series for the Kings.
Oh, did he? What do you have, 10 points?
Yeah,
like John Drews.
They just got a bunch of guys that just
0
work
points
hard.
in the first round, 10 points in the next round. Maybe more than 10.
Fast. Hard forecheck. Good decor. They are the favorite on Bet365. I think it's correct.
Imagine if they could add Teravainen and Svechnikov and Pacioretty to that group. Yeesh.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I got a text here. Guys, you can clearly see that Matthews is injured. You don't have to go as far as looking at the kind of fight with Stamkos where he only dropped one glove. You can also look at the fact he's spending more time in front of the net on the power play and trying to deflect shots. Your best shooter doesn't deflect shots. Say hi to Kyper from someone's full name, Cousin Mark.
All right.
Okay. Cousin Mark?
Buddy, I'm Greek. You know how many cousins I have?
I'm guessing a whole fleet.
I talked about this in the morning show today about the injury thing. I hate the injury conversation at this time of year.
Me too. However, it doesn't mean there's not some validity.
Sure, but who isn't hurt? I think Ryan
really,
O'Reilly looks like he's playing with a broken fibula. The way he's skating around, he looks like he's in extreme pain. Yeah. I think everybody's dealing with something.
So is Austin often, and I love this from Ken Hitchcock, is Austin looking for space or is he fighting for space?
Mm-hmm.
I love that from him, and it's such a great coach speak thing to say. But I agree. I think he's looking for space at this moment. Right?
Yeah, finding some, that's part of the thing is, do your best players get within that home plate area? Do they go stand there? And against Tampa Bay, he tips in pucks. He gets one on the back door. It's a dangerous area to be at. You need your best guys there, not circling around the perimeter.
Do you think he's dealing with something serious?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
I don't either.
I think he's just one of many guys who is battling every other day, and no one's at 100%. And until I'm told otherwise, until they say anything, he's one of many guys out there just feeling the effects of NHL playoff hockey this time of year.
Here's some Leafs stats for you guys that I think can help the Leafs. Right now, even strength shot attempts from the slot. The Toronto Maple Leafs are third in playoffs at getting shot attempts from the slot. After that, their second chance shot attempts, they're 12th. Their shot attempts recovered, they're 13th. Their forechecking success, they're 13th. So they get a puck on net.
One and done.
It's over.
Yeah.
And that to me is a big story of the game is you want to play in the O-zone, get the puck back. You want to score, get a rebound.
And I don't care what reputation Bobrovsky has.
Yeah.
When you hear those numbers, any goalie gets a heck of a lot better.
No kidding, eh? Yeah, make me make the first one. I'll make the first save. I'm in the NHL. You guys just help me out from there. And he hasn't Yeah, look at Dallas scores last night. Pavelski gets a shot where he, plays baseball and bats
Does
out
he
of the air.
shoot one on the ice ever?
No.
Or is he just batting them out of the air?
A rebound, second chances, being around it for follow-up attempts.
Leafs offense isn't the only issue in this series. Florida as well. Matthew Tkachuk was asked the other day about the lack of offense, I think, from the Leafs, and he says, the Leafs, how about me? I haven't scored either lately.
I like that he looks it in the eye, though.
I think that was a pretty good comment out of Matthew Tkachuk, and maybe another sign of his maturity here. Let's listen to Derek to Paul Maurice talk about Tkachuk's line going into Game 5.
So I've found them fine. If I didn't like their line last game, I would attribute that to all four had the same kind of thing going on. I thought we played with the puck too much while our feet were standing still. It's the simple version of what I saw from the bench, and certainly when I watched the game again. Those guys are better when Benny's rolling through the middle and they're on the puck, right, with their feet first. When they get it, they don't need a map. The net never moves. You know where it is.
It's like having Adam Oates on the show. I never know when he's done.
The net
never moves.
Yeah. I swear it moved on me.
They put it in a different spot.
That's not a dump in. That was a shot on goal.
So,
look for them to skate more is what I got out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Look for their team to have their feet moving a bit more with the puck.
Yeah, I am really curious to see their forecheck tonight. And if they can get it back to the standard that they had in the first couple of games here.
I'd like to see Jake McCabe have a better game.
Played a lot of hockey here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not Tampa Bay over the last 3 years, but they came off an emotional series that we did not see the energy drop. And we were all expecting it. I was expecting it.
Yeah.
I talked about it. And for me, it did come to fruition. Just happened to be in Game 4, not in Game
That's
1,
like a
2,
sugar
or
rush.
3.
You can keep eating sugar, but eventually
Can they get it
you
back?
run out of steam, you know?
Are they going to get it back tonight by the beginning of puck drop where you're in deep and all of a sudden Bennett's flying in and Tkachuk's flying in and turnovers and the Leafs are scrambling?
I think a lot's going to be on Bobrovsky. Like, if he gives them enough saves to kind of hang around and stay in it early, like, I think if the Leafs can get a couple early, I think you have the chance to really take the wind out of their sails and be like, God, not only do we have to keep pace,
They
we
got
have
the
to.
2 early goals in game.
They've done it a couple times. They've led the last. Yeah, they led games 2 and 3, I think.
Yep.
But I think just where they're at in terms of asking Florida to find an effort to climb a mountain and not just, win the 50, the even battle, I think you could really dishearten them a little bit.
I got a question here from John Mitchell on YouTube. What do you think of the idea of making the Department of Player Safety a 3-person panel? A former player, a former ref, and one other. Could it help bring more clarity and less controversy to these decisions?
First off, 3 people is not enough people for me. If you do a panel,
I would welcome a change in structure for sure, and I don't know what that means.
It can't be a reality TV show where you're like, I vote yes, I vote no. Let's see the third judge. Like, I don't know. They're having a conversation and trying to make sense of it. Now, is this the opportunity where I can say what a joke it is?
Yes,
Petro.
That's why I read it.
What a joke.
We did have this conversation yesterday. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, you did. I didn't believe it would happen.
Yeah.
And I've heard people be like, I thought if they would suspend him for 1, they would rescind nurses, right? I can't believe it. It has nothing to do with nurse. It's his own event. And you're going to say, yes, it does. No, it doesn't.
Well, it's
a slash that's violent.
It's actually game management like the refs do.
I'll tell you.
Within suspensions.
I'll tell you.
Which is the worst.
Yes.
100% that if Pietrangelo did not slash Draisaitl, they're rescinding.
Which is the
dumbest
thing I've ever
Not
heard.
really, because it wasn't like the fight does not warrant taking
No.
a player
It does not.
of his stature,
Should not be a
a
suspension.
$9 million player, I'm paying $400 for my seat. Okay, that episode doesn't warrant a 1-game suspension. It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's just dumb to suspend a guy because after everything I've watched in this series,
Those guys have
Nurse
talked
comes
100
in
times.
and says, "Let's fight," and the other guy's saying, "Let's fight," and they fight, and it's stupid.
Someone has to ask first, like any date.
Ridiculous.
Dumb.
Ridiculous.
What they should do is give Nurse's game to Pietrangelo. It should be 0 for Nurse and 2 for Pietrangelo.
It's not
Agreed.
black and white. It's political, and there's
Political?
That's political.
If there's anything the NHL likes more than gray area,
It's gray. It's political. You're not taking Pietrangelo out 2 games and having him sit on the
Doesn't matter who
sidelines
he is, though.
and watching Edmonton. No, it does matter because he is a very good player. He has no history.
Good players can
Okay.
slash now?
When they've been run like that all series and you haven't done your job to protect them better, yeah, maybe a little bit.
You can't send a message to the rest of the league that if you're good, you play by a different set of rules than if you're not.
Argument that the officiating let Pietrangelo down in this series. They let him down.
I think that's
And
a fine case.
He's a quality player. He has no history. He just had it up to here with the officials letting Edmonton have their way, and then he came back to send a message.
you're hitting your mic there, Kipper. You're heated.
He came back to send a message that, they want to attack me, I'm going to attack them. He got a 1-game suspension. No one's hurt. Draisaitl's not hurt. If he's hurt, he misses the series, you miss the series. That's the way it's generally worked for the NHL.
Here's what the league is saying.
At least they're consistent there.
Here's what the league is saying. If you don't like the calls or feel like the refs have not done a good job of protecting you, you can now enact vigilante justice and we won't stand in your way.
Yes, if you're Connor McDavid or if you're Pietrangelo, yes. If you're Nick Kypreos or
If they want to send that message,
Kyle
fine.
Clifford,
It ain't right.
and all of those are different rules for me. And
clearly for the
90%
league
of the
as
guy.
well.
But not when it comes to their star players, you don't want the league doesn't want to take them out. They don't go
I
by
want
the same
them in
rules.
the game, Kip. I want to see both those guys play.
Yeah, but they have a different different borders. They have different guardrails than me or anyone else.
Yeah,
90% of the league, 95% of the league.
Yeah, I think objectively,
and I'm okay with
it
that.
looks bad.
I'm okay with
on
that.
the league.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the Stars being treated a little differently than 95% of the rest of the league.
I am too, but there's a bridge too far sometimes. And it's not like if Pietrangelo is
It looked horrible.
And
It
it's
wasn't.
Draisaitl.
It looked horrible. I'll give you that. It wasn't a horrible slash. It looked horrible. It was not horrible.
Huh?
It
looked
totally horrible.
awful.
It was wretched, Kipper.
It wasn't vicious.
Yes, it was. It was insanely vicious.
But I've been in situations like that. I know when guys slash to hurt or break a bone. That wasn't it.
He missed. He tried.
It was for effect.
It's an FU. It's an FU.
Petrangelo's slash was all for effect. He was sending a message.
And that message was FU.
I want to hurt
everybody.
you. I want to
I've had
hurt
it.
the best player in the league at this point.
Do you see the tweet someone put out there? Vinny Desharnais to Jack Eichel next game, and it's just a guy tomahawking a mannequin in the head. It's like this is one game for those. Let us send our guy.
I bet you,
guy.
Vinny's getting
buddy.
Yeah.
Vinny's getting a lifetime ban if he does that.
Yeah, but they're fine.
sure, and he
Darnell's
should.
back, and they'll give more minutes to Kulak. And
by the way,
bing, bang, boom.
if I'm Edmonton,
Petro deserved to.
If I'm Edmonton, I take
no doubt.
If I'm Edmonton, I take that trade all day long.
What's that? Petro for Nurse?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Well, if I'm Edmonton, I'm upset that it's any for my guy and not 2 for his.
And that happened twice in the regular season with the instigator in the
Vegas
5 minutes,
will
and they
miss
rescinded
Petro
them.
a lot more than. And I'm not here to disrespect Nurse, or I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Petro's one of their best players,
of course. And Nurse at times has been really, really good, or he can struggle sometimes defensively. The loss is bigger on Vegas. It's not a trade-off.
No, it's not.
No.
But then that's why your good players can't do hyper dumb things.
Well, it could come back in cost Vegas the series, losing Petro by 1 game.
To me, I want to see the best players play, but this is one of those situations where it should be like, it's too bad they don't have Petro, but you can't do that.
I think things might get a little squirrely in that game tonight.
I just think you got to play
I
hockey.
don't think they're going to let it get squirrely.
It's
You
game
don't?
5. You
No.
got to play.
I don't.
Which, by the way, if it's going to be the Kip's talking about, they call a bunch of penalties, Edmonton's like, oh, no.
Please.
Don't put us
Yeah.
on the power play 6 times.
I do think that there's a world in which depends on result, obviously, but like if someone gets ahead by a lot, by any stretch, it gets squirrely.
Yeah,
Those
for
two
sure.
teams
For sure,
hate
if it's
each
a
other.
big
I think
gap.
they tighten the screws right out of the gate.
Would like to say, great series.
Those two teams
Really
hate each
enjoy-
other.
really
It's a good
enjoying
rivalry.
this. This
They
is
play
good.
each other a
Yeah,
Part
lot.
of it is because of the stuff we're talking.
100%.
Well, obviously.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
lovely.
obviously.
It's really, really good. Great drama.
Yeah.
So, stop trying to over-sanitize our game, please.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to green light Tomahawk
on.
Chop so we can have a better radio show.
Give me a break.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are. We are. All right, Sammy, what else you got?
Well, I don't know I have much else because it's time to go. I think we should
Leafs.
probably talk about the Leafs game tonight.
Please give us
Panthers,
a very
Game 5.
pessimistic score tonight so the Leafs will continue this series.
The Leafs have been absolutely crap on home ice this playoff. 1-4. And all 5 of those games with Samsonov and net where he's been crap on home ice. My gut says they lose this series in 6 games, but I think they could very easily lose tonight. I don't know what to expect. So I'll say
Let's get the offense going here. No?
Yeah.
I'll say
5-2 Leafs.
Oh, you're saying Leafs.
It's a good pick.
I'm going
They got to
5-4.
break out one game.
5-4 Cats in OT.
Give me 4-1 Leafs. 4-1
Okay,
Leafs.
4-1, 5-2, and an overtime loss, you said?
Yeah, 5-4
That's
Cats.
good.
That's
That's
good.
good.
Very, very happy
Yeah.
with your
Sam Bennett,
meow.
OT winner.
I really love that I have twisted myself into this reality where me being pessimistic makes the Leafs win. I love
Right.
this. Really
Right.
good
Imagine
stuff for
it
me.
came down to that. Who's starting tonight? Matthews, Marner,
You have no idea what to think.
Yarncroc.
You're right. Probably.
You, after the show, you're not allowed to talk until after the game.
Okay.
I think the
All right.
Leafs.
You got your Leaf talk tonight?
Oh, yeah, of
Save
course.
everything
Yes.
for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just like that, 2 hours over. Our thanks to Doug McLean, Joshua Cloak, and Ken Hitchcock. Enjoy Game 5, everybody. We're back on Monday. Have a safe weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Real Kyper and Bourne.